Hello, hello, superhumans.
Hi.
Hello.
So, welcome to our next session of the Superhuman Summit, the Energy Series. And we have been bringing some amazing energy to everyone here. We just had a sound healing, so that was quite phenomenal and a bit of a sound bath. So, we're all a bit loosey-goosey and we're ready for you guys. Now, I know it says your name is Team Universe, but let me tell you who these delicious humans are in front of you. And it's Chel and Xavier King, as you can see there. And Michelle's saying, hi, Team Universe. What a great title to be called Team Universe. I love it. So everyone's saying hello out there in Facebook and YouTube land and wherever they're calling in from. Let me tell you a little bit about these pair. And I just checked that they are married, so I can kind of call them a pair or a couple. And then we'll let them tell us a bit more about some of the great things they do to work with energy. So Chel is an artist and a Reiki master. She's a tattooist and a meditator. Fellow meditators unite. I'm in on that with you, but I don't have any tattoos yet.
Yes.
Chel encourages, I think when I've been looking and doing some research on you, that you encourage really that combination of strength and compassion with vulnerability, which I think is a beautiful, unique blend. And Xavier is also a Reiki master and a Reiki master teacher, I understand, as well as a hypnotherapist, a coach, and really helps people to, I guess, release things from their life and to bring in the good, which is what a team universe is all about, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading a bit about your history as well, Xavier, and I know it hasn't always been a rosy path, right? That you've been through some of your challenges yourself with substance abuse and those sorts of things, working too hard. I'm a corporate refugee, so I'm hearing that. And that you do a lot of work with people on relationships, boundaries and things like that. So really curious blend. I guess you've both got the Reiki, but you've got some other fields there that you work in. What did I miss in your intro? Tell us a bit more about what led you this path to working in energy this way now today.
That's a great question.
I feel like we both kind of Reiki finds you. I don't feel like anybody really goes out seeking Reiki. It just sort of ends up chasing you, I think, the energy path, right?
Yeah.
And we both teach now. We teach together, Reiki 1, 2, and Masters, which has been a really interesting journey for us, as well as getting to teach together, as well as our own journey in life with Reiki, which has been really cool. What were you going to say? I feel like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say the only other thing that I think that maybe we didn't cover was that Chel is actually just about to finish up her degree in art therapy, transpersonal art therapy. So we're just adding another thing underneath Team Universe. Team Universe is a beautiful umbrella for everything that we do together, and also individually. So it's just kind of like the big healing umbrella in which encompasses everything that makes us on a professional level.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what your dinner conversations are like.
We've been asked this a lot.
We do get asked this a lot. They're not your average conversation.
Yeah, we always like to talk out of this world and deep into psyches. We find it fascinating, which is, I guess, where we both work and where we're continuing to grow in our business and on an individual level. Yeah,
I'll tell you that one of our favorite things to do is that when we go out to dinner, we like to look around the room and then establish which versions of ourselves is in that room and representing which parts of our subconscious and how they're all playing out in the space. Then we can tell what kind of energy we're actually projecting out from our psyches into our external environment. If that gives you any kind of a taste about how our dinner conversations actually go.
Okay. All right. You just took it another level to what I was expecting, so I'm loving it.
It is a fascinating way to look at the world.
And so, can you tell me? Absolutely, I love the lens. Can you tell me a bit about who are the kinds of people you work with, and how do you work with energy? Because this is the energy series, and it's all about how do we manage our own energy? What are the ways we can use energy to do good in the world? What are some of the things that we might need to change in our energy, and how we can do that? So, who are the people you love working with? What do you actually do with them?
I think we both do a bit of separate type things with energy and how we work with people. But why don't you answer that first?
Well, for me, incorporating Reiki into my tattooing is what I love. I've been tattooing for almost a decade now. And I guess when I was a kid, I was really connected to energy and other worlds and spirit guides and things. And, you know, like most people, through your 20s, you kind of lose that side or push it away a bit. And I don't know, I feel like I got a bit more lost in the world. And then down my tattoo path, I really wanted to call that back. I was feeling that, you know, energy thing kind of knocking at my door all the time. And then Reiki came in. And I wanted a way to combine the two, to get to really bring tattooing back to this sacred space. You know, it used to be such a beautiful, and in some cultures it still is, a really beautiful rite of passage in a person's life, a transition. There's always some sort of story to every tattoo. But a lot of the studios I'd worked in, and as far as I could tell in modern tattooing, the ceremony had sort of been lost around the process. So bringing the Reiki into it, I do a bunch of different sessions, I suppose, based on the person. Everyone's so different. So every session is tailored to the client's needs. Like the other day, I had a client who'd lost a dear friend of hers, and we sat in meditation together, and I'd actually meditated on the design as well, and we sort of let that flow and the imagery flow through that and just intuitively designed it. And then after we'd meditated, we sat through the process and put some music on and let her get into the zone while I did Reiki over the stencil on her skin. And then I do Reiki while I'm tattooing as well, which can help with pain, which is a great thing. Most people want a bit of pain relief during their tattoo. It's just super relaxing, and it makes for a really good healing as well. Like, after healing the tattoo. So yeah, that's how I include it in my work.
And how does that, what kind of people do you attract to you in the process of that?
Well, I guess, again, everyone's different. I do a lot of memorial tattoos, which is a really special place for me. I have lost some people close to me, and I really resonate with and understand how important that healing process can be. And sometimes, you know, getting a tattoo, it probably sounds a bit twisted in a way, but sometimes feeling physical pain like that can be really healing. And when you're creating an image that you get to keep forever, that's a, you know, beautiful reminder, an artwork reminding you of that person or that experience that you shared, and then applying it with an energy healing technique, it's just a really powerful session. So a lot of my clients are searching for deeper meaning, whether it's in their life or it's because they've lost something or gained something, or they've changed or grown. It's all pretty transformative, I feel. People looking for, something different. Connection.
And not just 21 and I'm drunk and I'll just get a tattoo or a transaction, or, you know, I've got $200 in my pocket, you know.
Yeah.
Like, just not one of those transactions that don't mean anything. Are you the only person who does tattoo that's Reiki. Have you ever met anyone else that actually combines that? Because it's so unique.
No, as far as I can tell, I'm the first in Australia to be doing it. I know there is another girl in the States that does it, and she does more stick and poke type tattoos, which isn't with a machine. And it was actually seeing some more of these energy sort of tattoos that because I specialize in realism. So I do quite big pieces and realistic designs, and I really wanted to bring that energy to these big, modern, beautiful pieces and not keep it to just the more like symbolic little pieces, because I'm so used to working with big, realistic pieces. So I thought, why not bring the energy into that whole big thing?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I imagine quite a sacred space to drop into with people that you're doing that with, like you said, where you would sit with someone, maybe meditate or whatever. And I don't think it sounds strange that there's pain involved. You know, for a lot of people from an NLP perspective, we often anchor really important memories and things, you know, and it might be pinching yourself or, you know, doing a certain symbol that then anchors it. So what could be more anchoring than actually tattooing on the skin? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
may I
for
ask
me,
how many you have? So before we get to you, Xavier, how many tattoos do you have?
I don't know. I just looked down thinking
You haven't
I could
counted.
count. I don't know. I've got heaps of hot. No, I don't know how many I've got. I don't think I've ever actually.
I'd say less than
counted.
20, but more than 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some.
Beautiful.
I've got some big ones, and I've got big ones on my legs, but I feel like they're all gradually becoming one. Yeah.
Telling a story. Lovely.
Yeah.
So Xavier,
Yeah.
over to you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So I think your initial question was, what kind of people do we work with? Yes. So for me, I find that a lot of people just kind of end up here saying to me, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know that I'm supposed to be here. And they don't always have like a predominant issue that they want to work with. They just know that they got called to come to my door. And more often than not, most of the people that I work with have like deep-rooted trauma. They have a lot of anxiety or depression, or they have, past life ties in which they want to explore and then be able to like let go of and be able to forgive and to be able to move forward. So a lot of them also are carrying around like what feels like anchors, but not in the way that you just described, but in the sense of like they can't move, they feel a bit stuck, and like they're anchored to the ground in some sort of way, and it's keeping them from being able to move forward. So for one reason or another, most of them are just struggling, and they know that they need to take a deeper dive into their healing in order to be able to move forward. By the time they get to me, they're aware of the fact, they've got enough self-awareness that they know that they are contributing to their pain, and they know that they need to explore how they're contributing to that pain in order to be able to heal it. We're past the stage of placating and avoiding and deflecting. We're into the part where we're like, okay, so what do I need to do in order to actually make some changes and move forward? So that's kind of the people that I see. And the way that I integrate energy into everything that I do. So I've kind of coined it off as spiritual hypnotherapy, and I do that because I combine Reiki energy healing with actual hypnosis. So I do. So I'll do hypnotic trances with people, but I also do absentee or distance healing on the session ahead of time. and I hold them in this Reiki bubble during the time, because to me, every time we do trance with someone, or if I do timeline therapy, which is a coaching technique, both of those things to me feel very shamanic. They feel very ritualistic. They feel like we want to transport someone back into time and then bring them back into the present. Whether it's a past life regression, or even if we're just dealing with anxiety or something, we're still going somewhere and then needing to come back. And for me, incorporating Reiki into that does two things. One, it allows a safe, protective space, and it also creates like this sacred, energetic ritual, and also like just kind of this nice bubble to transport back and forth. But then Reiki allows like just kind of this breaking down of conscious barriers and energetic barriers that someone may be carrying around with them prior to a session. Because if you're anxious, you're already feeling really anxious to come, like either it's anxious, excited, or you just feel nervous. So that Reiki will calm that down and allow the person that I'm working with to feel safer. And to me, that's really important when we're doing really deep-rooted trauma work. Like I'm very passionate about making sure that people feel safe and supported by themselves, and also by me and the space that we're holding together. Because I'm just a facilitator for the Reiki, but I'm also just a facilitator for helping people heal and work through their trauma and their stuff that they brought into the door. So, and then also it pairs really well afterwards, because when we're bringing up all this stuff and we're working through it, then that Reiki energy can help clear out whatever comes up. Because if it's stored in our bodies, because I do like chronic pain work with people too, you know, we're pulling up trauma from the body and pulling it out of the body and talking about it and making it more realistic, and kind of in a way incorporating it in that moment and then letting it go. And then that Reiki can then energetically also just strip it away. So when they leave the office, not only is that Reiki still working after they've left, but it also allows them to actually leave that baggage. They don't just go back, pick it up and put it on their back and keep coming forward with it. Like we want to be able to move forward. So I think that combining the two of them together is an ultimate combination in which we can create, you know, new neural pathways, but also new energetic pathways in the same sense.
Are we frozen? Okay. Glitching a little.
Hey then.
Sorry, I think I missed that.
Yep, it froze.
Comment?
You went a bit digital. I guess it was freezing. I was curious about when you are healing trauma or something for people. I assume that sometimes, you know, really the whole idea in quantum physics is that the past, present, and future are all actually happening at the same time, that there is no separation. Yes. But a broken trauma in the past somehow shows up in the present. And I guess a lot of the work you do cognitively, people might want to try and understand, but it must be hard to explain. Like you said, people come to you and they know they need to come to you, but they don't know why. So, you know, do you find that people need to understand the process, or is it enough that they just show up willingly? And if they're resistant, does it still work?
It does still work if they're resistant, because we're breaking barriers. And, you know, hypnosis works regardless of whether or not our conscious mind gets in the way, because the way that hypnosis operates is that it gets through and breaks through that critical faculty line, which is the line between the subconscious and the conscious mind. And then we can go in there and talk directly to the subconscious, which is what's running all those programs anyways. So it works by itself. And you don't need to consciously understand or have faith that it's going to work, because it works. And Reiki's the same way. It's intelligent. It knows exactly what it needs to do and how it needs to do it. And it doesn't need us to do anything except for just channel it and then to be receiving. And if the person isn't receiving, then it won't go in. because it knows, and I can also know because I can feel whether or not someone is energetically receiving me on that level. I haven't had anybody who's come in and I don't have contact in the sense that it's not working, and I believe that it works in the way that it needs to for that particular session. And in regards to quantum physics and the way that time works, it's interesting because not everybody understands that, and I don't necessarily need to explain that to people, but I think that we have this the way that our conscious mind works. Unless you work in quantum physics, you kind of can't really wrap your brain around the fact that time is all happening all at the same time, and that your past lives are here, and that we're playing out all different parts of our subconscious in the moment, in this present time. And so our conscious minds kind of need this ritual, this combination of things in order to help us make sense of the way that we store time. Even if it doesn't actually get stored in the way that we think it does, we think it's stored that way, and that's all that really matters. We have this belief that that's how that works, right? So my past is back there and my future is up there, and maybe my past lives were before that, and in order for me to make all that make sense, I need to figure out how I store time, which is why timeline therapy is great, and hypnotherapy is also great because it can help you to figure out how you store time in order then to move forward, even though you might be moving forward with all of this stuff, all these dimensions, all these timelines, all at the same time. And because I think healing isn't linear, in a way, if you're doing healing in this timeline, then those other timelines and those other dimensions and those other lives are also getting healing in that moment too. So everybody essentially who's on your team is getting exactly what they need in that moment, whether they're aware of it or not.
Collapsing time in the quantum.
Yeah, a few people are commenting on that in the chat box and talking about new neural pathways, collapsing time, all of those sorts of things. Can I come back to you for a minute, Chel? And even just sitting there, and I'm sure Xavier would agree, you have this real presence about you that feels like from an energetic frequency you've raised in your consciousness. There's just an energy around you. I'm curious from a creative perspective, where do you tap into for your creativity, and how do you, I'm assuming you channel in a way because that's the sense I'm getting watching you. Where does that come from? How do you get yourself in this state? What's been the best experience you've had working with a client yourself?
I definitely have been channeling imagery since I was a child. Sometimes I wish I could take what I see in my mind's eye out and just project it onto a screen for people, because the paintings and things that I do, I feel like don't even compare to what I'm actually experiencing. It's like a whole sensory, visual, kinesthetic soup of magic that is really hard to express in a static picture, but I do my best with my artwork to get those vibrations, I guess, that energy out. I meditate a lot, and I see and sense and feel a lot of things in that space. Sometimes the best thing for me before a client comes in, whether it's for a healing session or an artwork or a tattoo, whatever it is to sit in meditation by myself and just connect to myself and my guides and source energy. I find it quite easy these days to just drop into that space now, and I just get shown, sometimes even without asking a question, just get shown the most profound things that are always exactly what I need to hear or what the client needs to see or hear. So a lot of connecting to spirit, source, myself. That's where my inspiration comes from, and a lot of inspiration too really comes from nature, which I think is a place where that deep connection to source and the universe come from. I think a lot of people focus on getting up and out there, which is great, but there's like a direct channel, a direct link to it in nature. If you go sit in the grass and listen to nature or a waterfall, or, you know, watch a butterfly go by, listen to the bees, you know, you're in that vibration of creation and potential, and it's, yeah, that's where the magic happens, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, we could never be as creative as Mother Nature, right? And her magnificence that the universe brings. And actually, one of our other speakers coming on, I think tomorrow, Andrea Keller, is going to talk about sacred geometry and also how architecture can take inspiration from nature and how architecture affects us, the environments we're in, and the ones that are based on nature and natural equations, how that has more of a soothing effect on our energy and psyche. We've had a question from a LinkedIn user, if I can jump in and ask that, and it is trying to intellectually understand it. So can you give them some creative ideas? That's from Marlon. Thanks for your question, Marlon. So what's the best way to receive energy?
It's about being open.
Yeah, taking a step back from consciousness, I guess, in a way, from that mind space.
I think a lot of the resistance that we can have as humans is just because we don't understand something, we then don't allow ourselves to be open to something that we maybe don't understand. So I think my answer would be that to give yourself permission to receive something that you may not understand, but that you know is going to be good for you.
Yeah. I really feel like being able to receive the energy, just like when we give Reiki, we're just a channel for it. We're just facilitating, like you said, same with hypnosis. Like you're allowing yourself to step back and trust that you're in the right place at the right time every single time. If you just take a deep breath in and step back, it's like all of a sudden that channel is open and flows. If you try to really understand it or ask, why is that energy happening? Why is it channeling? How is that working? Then it's like, we'll just need to take a seat and take some breaths and step back.
Yeah, that was going to be my creative idea, would be about breathing in. Just
I'm not sure if that answered that well.
It's kind of hard, I think, to actually give proper creative ideas outside of like just small things that you can do for yourself, like allowing and to give permission and to breathe into it and to trust that at least you trust yourself enough to know that you don't need to understand something in order to receive it.
Also, checking in with yourself, checking in with your energy, that helps me a lot when I'm trying to understand something or feeling some type of way. I feel like the best thing to do is to feel into myself. I'm like, I'm safe, I'm supported, everything's cool. Just take a deep breath. Like, what is it that I'm trying to understand, or why am I trying to understand that? Am I okay, and is everything flowing? And I feel like when you just sort of release any grip on thought and just allow things to be, the energy just flows.
Yeah. So people are saying in the comments to surrender, not control. Marlon, who asked the question, said, I got it, accepting to witness it versus knowing it. And I think whilst all of that sounds great, I know I work with lots of CEOs and A-type people
Yeah.
And they're used to controlling. Like they might control 1,000 staff, and they control their budget, and they control their time. And so that surrender requires trust. And I think for many people, they've lost their self-trust, let alone trusting others. And it just makes me realize how important it is that we should be teaching children and our new generation some of these skills early on. But how can we support people to surrender? Because you can't just say, let go, surrender, because if they're really hanging on. So I imagine when you're working with people, you have to build a lot of rapport and trust. And is that often something you've got to work through to get to a point where they are more open?
I find that the most healing comes from the relationship that I build with my clients. So yes, in one sense, the more that you work with someone, the more trust gets built, and then therefore more work can be done. But I think it's important to note that the trust actually is within them, in trusting themselves, not necessarily trusting me or trusting the process or trusting that they can let go. The big thing, the big hurdle that we're getting into is learning and teaching how to trust your own instincts and your own intuition and trust yourself. Because I feel like almost 100% of the time, my clients need help because they don't realize that they can trust themselves, because they've been spending their whole lives being told that they cannot. And so they're looking for someone else to facilitate a space in which they can feel like they trust them to guide them into this direction. And I think that Chel's the same. I can't really speak for her necessarily, but I believe that both of us want more than anything for people to learn to trust themselves and to not need us to facilitate that space, because that's the end goal. And the more trust that we can help them to gather within themselves, the more open that they'll be to healing their own selves, but also to the energy and to any of the work that they're trying to do.
And I think this is where Indigenous cultures, and maybe what you were saying earlier, Chel, about the ritual and ceremony and the rite of passage that used to be around having a tattoo or a mark that was something to do with their tribe or the stage in life that they were in. It's missing in a lot of our modern culture, where ritual taught people how to trust themselves and helped them journey through that, and having a tribe around them teaching them. We're so disengaged today. I'm interested in what is the patterns you see in your work, what shows up the most. And I know, Xavier, you do a bit of boundary work and people dealing with toxic relationships and things like that. What are some of the patterns you're seeing in society, that obviously need to be healed?
Well, for me, it's kind of interesting as a visual person. It's kind of great that the patterns I see literally come in the form of imagery, what sort of things people are focused in on, what they're curious about getting tattooed, what artworks they want to get made. I feel like lately I've had a lot of people who are curious about their higher self or inner power. Just thinking about artworks and things that I've been working on, it's really been about a connection to self, connection to source. But we're all witnessing this sort of huge awakening of people and a changing of direction of society. Societal norms are changing, and in that, people are finding themselves. They're waking up to their own potential and the state of the world, and realizing they can do things to make their life amazing and the lives of others amazing. And I feel like that's been a really common theme, is this real root sort of connection to themselves and to energy, to the other realms. That's been a thing for sure.
So it's a bit like coming back to source, coming back to self, and recognizing that they're the same. remembering that we are the universe experiencing itself in multiple forms in these human bodies, and that we create that reality around us while we're experiencing the universe experiencing itself. It's interesting, because I feel like I love the fact that you get to not only see like behavioral patterns and emotional patterns, but then you also get to see these visual, tangible, lifelong patterns that people are curious and wanting to put on their bodies. And I like to hear about like the sections in which you get like, all right, so for this month we seem to be having talisman that are showing up, and it's this and it's this and it's this and it's this, and they all are like these spiritual things, and we've got like a whole month of memorial pieces. It's like I find the same way that I find that I get different groups of people that show up for me in the work that I do. You get groups of people that show up for you too. And I think in that same sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it matches the energy in which we're currently living our lives in also, or maybe things that seem to be topics of conversation that are happening. And it's like, because we create our own reality, in turn, we're getting that reality fed back to us in the form of our clients.
Yeah, there's always something to learn from the people that come in to see you, isn't there? And that actually made me think about years ago. I used to work in Sydney. I learned to tattoo down there years ago. And I remember thinking that the art was pretty normal until I moved to Byron Bay, where I worked in a studio up there for a few years. And I realized how happy everyone was in Byron and how miserable all my clients were in Sydney. They were bringing these deep, dark things that they wanted to explore, which was beautiful to explore it in artwork, but it was also really quite heavy compared to the lightness of the imagery that was coming in Byron, or European travelers and people just passing through, and these real free spirited energies. Whereas in Sydney, it was it was thicker energy, even through the imagery they brought in. Yeah.
So environment's everything, right? And I love, I guess we're coming towards the end, and what I'm picking up from what you guys are doing, and in a way through your Reiki energy maybe, is that we are all one. The universe, we're all a mirror of everything else. And I agree. I think since COVID as an experience for humanity that, we were brought about through the universe, some of the shifts that happened at Uluru, and also through the opening of Grid Point 44 by a lot of Indigenous elders, I think there is this real shift in people's awakening and awareness, and it's starting to be measured through things like the Schumann resonance. Like, we're actually seeing the planet and the populace change. And the work you guys are doing, I think, just helps us navigate that, which is lovely. We need way showers. We need people to help us navigate and make sense. And otherwise, it's too sudden for some people, I think, to go, whoa, what's happening here? So love that you guys are kind of guiding people through that, and that the work you're doing perhaps on one individual is having ripple effects beyond that person and just their immediate life. So, I want to send my gratitude to you for that work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So to wrap up, are there any final things that we didn't talk about, that I didn't ask you, and that you think are really important to convey to everyone listening here? And also, how can people find you if they're like, wow, we need Team Universe on our side?
Our website has all our services and details and things on it. It's just teamuniverse.com.au. We also have a podcast on Spotify.
Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Our podcast you can find on Spotify. It's called Tea Time with Team Universe. Yeah, I think all the things are...
Yeah, you can look below at the streaming thing full of all of our great social media profiles. Yeah. Thanks for that. That makes life easier. But yeah, you can find us everywhere. And I feel like in general that we have covered so much in this very short conversation that we've been able to have with you, AJ.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us.
Great. Awesome. And I want to remind everyone who's watching, if you've loved this as well, we have the Superhuman Experience coming up, which is an online program that Michelle and I run, where we actually do dive deep into quantum physics, into all of these kinds of topics, into how do we heal ourselves, what kind of energy we need. So if you haven't checked it out already, the Superhuman Experience course starts on May 3rd, and we'll be popping a registration link below. The energy from that last time was phenomenal, and it really does have this ripple effect beyond. So know that if you sign up for that, it will have a real impact on your past, present, future, and all of those around you. So we'd love you to hop on board with that. But everyone, please join me in a virtual round of applause and a thank you to Chel and Xavier King from Team Universe. It's been great getting to know more about what you're up to in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. Thank you. Until next time, stay tuned. Our next speaker, Jade Green, is on in just 15 minutes. So get ready for some real pumped up excitement with Jade. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.